for kids, there is this guy who most of us look up to. And in a lot of ways, how your dad is and how he talks about himself and how he portrays himself, the stories he tells, does kind of put up someone for you to compete with and someone for you to push yourself against in a lot of ways. And I know certainly in my upbringing, there was definitely like a certain healthy competition for can I be better than dad in this, or can I.
So we were just talking about life challenges and how competition and challenge can make you better at whatever you're striving to do.
Well, more specifically, we were talking about Michael Jordan, which any talk about Michael Jordan becomes a talk about greatness. I don't care who you are, because even as far as the athletes go, it's rare when someone, and even though he wasn't great, he still was capable of going and getting picked up, playing baseball. Granted, he wasn't Reggie, but that's who can be.
Yeah, who can be. He's definitely the Reggie. Oh, Reggie Jackson's who you're talking about, the Mr. October.
But where the conversation is going, we were talking about how part of what made him great was he's on these teams, and not only was he great and he exceptional, but he made the guys around him exceptional. Just being around other people of that caliber pushes you. And I was sharing a story about how when I used to run cross country in high school, I was the fastest guy in my county by a long stretch. And so the only time I ever saw a competition and people that it could actually beat me was when we're doing the big 2,000 guy meets, and I'm running against guys from have 2 states away. And man, how did I loved those meets, because I wouldn't necessarily do amazing. I think I was top 5 in states and stuff like that. But there were people faster than me. But the beauty of people faster than me meant when I ran, I got to run against somebody, and I got to push myself, and I get to see more of what I was capable of because there are people better than me out there. And how good could I have been if one of those people had been in my county and I had to run meets against them throughout the year? Where every week I'm being forced to push myself harder. I
think the parallel you're trying to address, though, is actually, whatever team the Bulls were playing got the benefit of playing Michael Jordan and the Bulls. So they had to raise their level of
I think
play.
Everybody had to. The whole league, because of how good he made that team, everyone was better. I do kind of feel like basketball was better back in the 90s. It was different. It was... Yeah. But we'll say I'm not a sports guy, hilariously enough. I was going to turn the conversation. You'd mentioned you were talking about golf and how being around people better than golf, you pick things up, you learn things, it makes you better. But an interesting parallel that I was going to draw was that for kids, there is this guy who most of us look up to. And in a lot of ways, how your dad is and how he talks about himself and how he portrays himself, the stories he tells, does kind of put up someone for you to compete with and someone for you to push yourself against in a lot of ways. And I know certainly in my upbringing, there was definitely a certain healthy competition for can I be better than dad in this, or can I, now the first thing I will have to reconcile is the fact that my dad and I are very different people. And so, my dad was, he played sports and was good at sports. I played sports and was other than running cross country for the end of my career, was not very good at sports. My dad was voted class flirt as a superlative when he was in high school. I was voted most unique. So I was the weird kid, basically. But there's always a certain amount of comparative, this. Like, am I living up to the expectations that people have from me because of who my father is? And, my dad would tell me stories about when he would, like, frankly, when he'd go out with his buddies in high school. And it's like, am I having as much fun as my dad did in high school? Am I causing enough trouble or too much trouble? Am I doing it better? There's always that sense of, am I doing life better than my dad?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely compare myself to my father for sure.
If you do this consciously, like, you go into life understanding that that's how sons approach, like, they see their fathers and how they kind of take on that. What things can you set up in your own life and the way that you talk about yourself and your past that can help lead your son to be a better man, a better person, just by cognitively approaching what we know is going to happen anyways with some intention?
Okay, so we pose the real idea there. Let's see. So first, let me just kind of dissect a little bit how I see my father. I see my father as being really good at some things. I see my father as making a bunch of mistakes during my childhood. Not really my childhood, but basically my adolescence from, 12 to 18. There was some times where I don't want to say he just wasn't around that much. So, the way I see my father is he's a great speaker. Like, he commands the attention of a room when necessary. Works hard. Unashamed of being doing his best to be great. Not braggadocious, but almost very close to that. So one thing I do see about my father, though, is he was definitely given even less than I got when I was a child, for sure. And he made something of himself. So that idea that you're just talking about is creeping in there because, man, I at least got to do better than my father because he was given less than me. Therefore, it would be a waste of potential, a waste of resources, a waste of time and effort that I received. It would be a waste. And I would definitely have a problem with that. I mean, I can't allow that to happen. So yeah. How would my son compare himself to me, and what could we do to, use that to his advantage throughout life?
So, like, we're, in this, we're thinking of ourselves all as Michael Jordan, and our family is, the 90s Bulls. We're trying to make everybody in this family better by being the best that we can be for the family. And that is the closest that you'll ever get to a sports analogy out of me, folks.
I'm interested in that. So, but directly, I have one son. Let's think about, what are the specific things that I can be good at?
We can widen out the family dynamic. You just don't think your wife's better on the team because you're there? You think that there's another husband that's going to make her better? Well, I will take ownership. I know I make my wife better and she makes me better too. So
I try. Sometimes I definitely fail. Golly, sometimes I fail. But I don't know. I think I make her better by maybe even objecting to some of her ideas and thoughts and perspectives, just like she does for me. So I think that's how, that dynamic works.
Sharpening the sword, if nothing else. Like, I think you can do better. I think you got more in you.
But for my son, I think, I think right now it's about routine and discipline. He's only 2.5 years old, so we're still, not to the stage where we're learning anything intricate. We're not learning to, do algebra or anything like that. So it's more about intentional, making sure that he understands that I love him no matter what. But I said earlier, routine, because I think the routine is what I was missing when I was young. And I think that it's such a good thing to have. I mean, it's just one of those things that if you go to bed at the same time every night and you wake up at the same time every day, it almost gives your body the opportunity to regulate the day subconsciously a little bit easier. It's almost like, oh, I know it's 5:30 a.m. I know I'm getting up. I know there's some things I got to get done. There's no conscious thinking involved with doing stuff because you're kind of on autopilot for a little while. And I think that makes room for conscious thought and focus for things that deserve it more than brushing your teeth and making breakfast and that sort of thing.
And do you think that put this, that translates to stability? Like it makes life more stable. Is that the thing you think that really offers you? It's like, I know that it's always going to be like this, so I can plan ahead better and I can make better decisions. Because when everything goes off the rails and there's no stability there, like you're getting by. There is no planning at that point.
I'd say that's probably why people stay impoverished more than anything, is because time preference. They can't think past a week, 2 weeks, a month ahead because they got to worry about surviving, worry about eating. Where are they going to get their food? Where are they going to get their water? How are they going to pay that rent? You know, when you have to think that way, it makes it hard to think about what can I do in 5 years. Near impossible, from what Jordan Peterson says. You know, they basically can't do it.
Well, I mean, have you ever gotten into like any of the study on IQs? I hate to bring it up, but like one of the things they find is like if you're like have a deficit of calories like for like a long enough period of time, your IQ drops. Period. Now that's not a permanent thing. Like if you start getting nutrition and your IQ goes up, but the bottom line is if you're hungry all the time, you can't make as good of decisions because you're more concerned with how you're going to feed yourself than anything else in the world. Nothing else competes against that. Like it is a core of your being driving you to survive thought, and you will not be able to put cognitive process to anything other than that until that is solved.
Makes sense. I mean, if you're hungry, you know, that's life or death, you know?
If we're still going to use this as an episode, why don't you do a turnaround and call us into the episode?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dad Hat. Today's guest is absent. Nobody knows where he went exactly. I think he got called into his day job that was given to him by the man, but he's not here today. So my producer, Nicky P, are going to have some conversation. I think we're going to look at a Twitter feed that I've been following for a little while, who's recently posted 20 life lessons every father must teach his son. It's a thread on Twitter that I like a lot. So maybe it'll be a good episode anyways.
Oh, I know it's going to be a good episode anyways. I only bring the heat.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks.
We're going to burn this whole thing down. It's going to be how hot this is.
Dang!
All right. So what are we starting with here? What are these 20 life lessons? How bad am I going to shred these?
Yeah, I hope you do. I love to hear the dull rock versus the sharp sword. So let's see. No one will love you as much as your mother. Let's not read the rest of it for now. Let's just go with that first line of the first lesson.
It's a complicated one. And I will say that because the bottom line is everyone's personal relationships are screwed up. I will tell you that my parents didn't go to my oldest brother's wedding because of family drama that happened. I don't care. I don't know how much my mom loves my brother anymore, because if she couldn't see past whatever issue she had enough to do that, to go, I've got questions about that. I'll add to that, coming up, I know some of the shit that I put my mom through that, a lot of it's because me and her personality wise are too much alike. And, I can never take any of it back. That, I guess in a certain way, I kind of hope that it's true, in a way that a parent loves their kid. I feel like it's probably true. Like they get past it, but, I think that you're always going to want your mother to love you no matter what. In particular, I think back to, have you ever seen the movie, oh goodness, what is it? It's about drugs. That's what I remember about it. Requiem for a Dream. If you've never seen Requiem for a Dream, it's a very depressing thing. And, Marlon Wayans' character is what comes to mind, the lowest point in his life, and all he wants is his mother. He's there essentially dying because of what he did to himself. And literally in that moment, all he wants is mom. So I think whether or not it is true, we all kind of need it to be true. I think the need is that we were talking stability earlier, and knowing that your parents are there for you. Let's be honest, there's a physical connection to our mothers. I've had a lot of friends who've had babies in the past month, and you see how that comes up, and you see how mothers are around their kids, and the way, I was talking to a new mother who's only had a kid for 2 weeks now, and talking to her about, she thought she'd want more people around to help when she had the kid. And she's like, no, really, I wish all of these people would just go away so that me and my child can be together and we can, appreciate each other while we still have those few moments to kind of do it. And get the time in while there's still time to be got in. Every day here is a day you get further away from your mother, essentially.
Yeah, I won't get into too much detail for me, but let me ask you this, actually. Are mothers limited by their capacity, intellectual capacity, or personality capacity to love their children? If you have, an issue, a personality issue, does that,
as I said, I have questions, concerns, I have feelings about how that situation with my mom and my brother was. And I think it's an emotional capacity thing. My mom frankly, I think my dad should have put her in therapy and figured this shit out. And it didn't happen. So I think that there's limiting ways in which certain people can show how they, feel towards people or what's there. Maybe that's, like I said, just wishful thinking and a belief that we need moms to be there because we need that stability in our lives. And it's you need that to be a truth for some people. But, not everybody gets what they want. And I know that, frankly, there's some others out there that would just as soon turn their kids over for drugs because the drugs do more for them. I hope that someday when they're older, they regret the shit out of that. But, you never really know.
They won't get older, probably.
And that's another option. They may not.
Yeah. I think, I love my mom. I wish she would have done a better job. But, I love her. And that's all I got on that one.
Well, and sometimes that's all you can do,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's no such thing as fair.
I love this one because, I definitely feel that is truth. Raising a mixed race daughter, for me, there's going to be dumb shit and dumb people in her life that are going to hate her because just because, frankly, no other reason other than just because. And I think that no matter what is going on in her life, she needs to go out and be the best person that she can be, because it doesn't do her any good to approach things as if she can change them, because you can't change the external things, only how you react to them. So you go out to try to be the best you can. And if things get in your way, well, things got in your way. It happens to the best of us.
I definitely think it's true for sure. But I also think that the world or society would be a better place if people would look at the world through this lens as well, that life isn't fair. I mean, look, there's some people that have the worst hands and there's some people that have the best hands, and that still does not dictate the outcome. You know, whether we're talking about genetics, whether we're talking about environment, whether we're talking about location, whatever, it does not dictate. You still have a ton of control over, what happens to you in your surroundings. So, all right, let's go to this next one. Oh, the right woman will propel you to greatness.
I think without question, but it's a very specific way of saying something that I think is more broad. The bottom line is, if you don't surround yourself with people that'll push you and make you better, then they're just going to hold you back. That can be your woman, that can be your, friends. The one thing I'll say about a woman is that, if you have a woman that holds you back, it's the person you're probably spending the most time around. And so that's going to be a problem for you. I look at a relationship as a team effort. When I talk to my wife about things, it's very much, what are we doing to better the franchise, essentially?
Hell yeah.
How can I hold you up? How can you help me do the things I need to do better, so that every task is kind of taken on between the two of us in some form or fashion. It's when we had before we had Irma and we talked homeschooling, we had to decide, well, how is that going to do work wise? What are we going to do? We set up a life that allowed us to do the homeschooling thing and make sure we're both there for our kids, that we didn't need daycare or anything like that.
I'm in agreement, of course. When I met my wife and we had this commonality of bettering ourselves, it was almost like a team of self-help for a little while. And it's just, I think that, the female is the yin to the yang, or the yang to the yin, or whatever. It's the ultimate, it's the ultimate opportunity to get better, because you're going to get really close with this woman. I'm assuming this is a marriage or at least a close relationship, but you're going to get very close to this woman, and women love to, I don't want to say snoop, but they like to get in there and understand you and see who you're talking to, how you talk to other people. They want to know everything about you. And they're all, a lot of times they're unashamed to say, yeah, that's stupid, you should stop doing that. Or, hey, you're not representing the family. You're not doing what's best for the franchise. So, and you know what? As a 23, 25-year-old, I don't think I had the emotional maturity to take on that, beating to my ego that some women will give you. But now I think I value it very much. I think we were talking about earlier,
it's sharpening the sword. It's someone to make you push yourself.
All right. Pornography is evil.
I waffle around on this one. There are some people who literally it controls their lives, I think. Some people, I don't understand how it gets to be that bad. I think that I want to believe that there's a healthy way for it to happen in the world, but if you look at the industry, there are a lot of problems with the industry, not the best taking care of those people in it. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with being able to show off your body. The bottom line is, if you're an attractive person, I think that there should be a place for you to take advantage of your God-given gifts and make money off of them, the same as smart people and fast people and any other kind of person. But dealing with where we are in the real world, a lot of times that industry does happen to be with basically girls that are kind of taken advantage of, fed drugs, and maybe making poor decisions because of it. So there's it probably is evil in the way that it manifests in our world now, but I don't believe it has to be that way. I just think it has turned out that way and was perhaps reinforced by some people that way. So it's a mixed message on my part.
Yeah. It's a tough one. I don't think in good and evil, or I try not to. I don't think absolute evil actually exists personally. I just think, that, man, I think pornography is probably bad. I mean, I'm sure there's some use cases that it works and all of that, but it is addictive. I mean, that's pretty proven. It's a one side. The consumer's pretty one sided. I know that it's more than 95% male consume pornography, which is, there's something to be said about that. That third line or second line there, this destroys your natural masculine drive to create, reproduce, and conquer.
That's what I have the most problem with, frankly. I don't think it does shit to it. I think that is entirely in your head. Like, I think if you believe that, then yeah, it probably does. If you don't, then it doesn't do shit to you.
Well, probably to the addict, the person that's doing it 2, 3, 4 times a day, hours a day, or whatever the case is, I bet there is some serious, brain chemistry malfunction there. I mean, that first line says, it overstimulates your dopamine reward pathway, which this guy's not a scientist for sure, but I mean, he's probably right. Your dopamine, your neurochemistry is probably being jacked up from not getting that same type of stimulation with real sex. Yeah, jacked up from jacking off is right. All right, we're moving on. Your ancestors knew more than you think.
Oh, without question. I mean, and yes, you can think about this in like the family sense, or you can think about it in the cultural sense. Let's be honest. If you really look at the lessons and things that most of like the world religions teach, all that stuff is like the gathered wisdom that's been carried on for centuries. Most of it's pretty good ideas. That's why people like Jordan Peterson are so popular today, because they're teaching us the ancestral wisdom of our people that has kind of been kicked to the wayside by modernity. Whether or not you believe the religion, like the religious part of it and like the belief and faith and all this stuff is important, the messages that are inherent in those books absolutely are good. So whether or not you like the religion and whether or not you think that, this is just stupid stuff from old people, that stuff has survived because it works.
Yeah. Trying to think pragmatically and practically here, the results of living the way the religions teach you are good results. I mean, at the end of the day, that's why I have a belief problem. I don't tend to believe all of the miracles, if you will, or whatever you want to say, but I think practicing Christian values is probably a great thing. I mean, especially for society, especially for the masses. But as far as your ancestors, how old is an ancestor? Are we talking, 100 years ago, 200 years ago?
I guess I will. One of the things I'll say is like, so I think of myself as an Italian American, for whatever that means. So there's a lot of like family stuff, I guess, that comes with that. Like we can pick on family, but the bottom line is like you don't fuck with my brothers. You want to be in a whole world of hurt, start shit with one of us in front of the other two. In fact, we could be beating the shit out of each other and start shit with one of us in front of the other two. We will stop kicking our own asses, beat the hell out of you, go right back to it. Like it's just that bond for whatever is super important. And to me, it's always felt like, I guess maybe watching all the mob movies and stuff, the way people, when you're in the family, how you're taken care of, probably maybe for better or worse sometimes. Like it's always been important. Yeah,
it's important.
Like, fuck with grandma. Fuck with mama.
For sure. I guess number 5 is just a little bit too nuanced for me. There's not enough to make a real idea or opinion out of it. So let's go on to the next one.
Well, I guess there are people that are dumbasses at any point in history. Like, not all of your ancestors are geniuses. Toby the dog catcher was a moron. Well, it wasn't Toby the philosopher. That's not how he got remembered. So do what you will with it.
You must control your emotions.
I'll say unequivocally, like, having your emotions and respecting that you're having them is one thing. Letting them do the leading, I don't think serves anyone well.
The emotions are, I think my only thing is I used to be like, not full suppression of emotions, but I just didn't see any practicality in being emotional. But now I'm starting to think that your emotions are a contributor of your instinct or your, what's that word people use? Like when you're analyzing something, a situation, and you have a feeling about it, your intuition. I think emotions influence your intuition quite a bit. So I've started to kind of pull back on my thoughts on the, emotions being unpractical.
I mean, I don't know. It probably hasn't come up for you much, but like I have a daughter. She's 9 years old, and crying bothers me. Like I don't know if it's just a parent, like inherently hearing crying makes me upset. Now, granted, I cry myself too. Like trust me, I cry every time that I watch Remember the Titans, without question.
Yeah, it's a given. Yeah, it's like, oh my God, he died.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how that works. But, when I talk to my daughter, it's like I try and teach her, like, it's okay to feel all that you want, address the feelings, but you have to get past the crying part, because the crying part is not dealing with what's making you cry in the first place, dealing with what's making you feel the way you're feeling in the first place. Address it and try and move on if you can. I mean, maybe that's because I'm a callous prick, but
pain is a prerequisite for growth.
I mean, you could probably answer this question for me. I bring up Milan Kundera and the unbearable lightness of being every time we talk.
Yeah. I think that pain is necessary, and while it's happening, it's very terrible. But when it's over, it's sometimes one of the greatest feelings to have. Once the pain is over and you've analyzed, why you went through the pain, how you can change to avoid that pain in the future, all those things. It's a great feeling after it's over. Wouldn't you say?
Well, for all the people who aren't aware and have never heard me freak out about Milan Kundera, the whole point of the unbearable lightness of being is that any growth that we get as human beings happens because there was some type of adversity that we overcame in our life. That's something that forced us to change in some way. If your life is great and all happiness and smiles, you're never going to change, because why would you? There's no reason for it. So invariably, it's the hard stuff and the hurtful stuff that is going to make us who we become.
Next is there's always someone smarter than you.
I mean, I guess I have to think there might be. I'm not going to sign off and say this one's guaranteed, but
let's read the rest of it. There's always someone smarter. There's always someone more talented. There's always someone more blessed by the world.
Okay, well, yeah. In that case, I will acquiesce that. I mean, bottom line is there. You know what? We'll go soul on this one. There is me tomorrow is probably better than I am today at some things, maybe worse. So, it's I guess that was my point. Like, well, there is going to be somebody that nobody is smarter than. We don't know who that guy is, but that guy exists. But if we're taking it from, there's always somebody better at anything that you do. Yeah, if you're the smartest guy in the world, maybe you're not the prettiest. And, I think understanding that we are who we are and we have the gifts that we have and focus on utilizing those gifts to help people, the happier you're going to be as a person.
I guess the the use for this lesson is when you lose a match or you lose a, job opportunity or something. I guess I'm not sure how it's a lesson. Maybe it's for a person that is overconfident, possibly.
Well, how about this? And this is the way that I personally frame it. So Lee, you and me, we go out in the town. You're going to do much better at picking up women than I am. just bottom line, that's going to happen. As long as you don't talk too much. Women don't like people who talk. That's why I struggle so much. It's not that I'm ugly or anything. I just talk too much. I kid. But the idea is I'm well aware that I'm not the world's most handsome man. That being said, I do have my skills and my charms. Put me behind a microphone with a guitar, and that equation changes very quickly. So it's understanding the value that you have and not feeling negatively about the fact that there are people that are going to have different values than you. And the mathematical equation for greatness isn't a static value and based on one thing. It's based on a whole host of different things. And you can still be a great person, even if you're mediocre at everything in the world. You're still better than someone who sucks at most things and is good at some others. However that balance happens out doesn't matter. It's what makes you unique. That is what's gonna, it's your thumbprint in the world. You are who you are. Be okay with it.
That and the thing you mentioned a moment ago, which was I'm going to be a little bit better tomorrow than I was today. I mean, that's a huge piece for sure. All right. Women are attracted to value.
Yes, I would go say people are attracted to value. Are you going to waste any of your time hanging out with someone who doesn't make your life better? Not if you're smart. If you know going out with that dude is going to end up in you getting drunk, getting in a fight with your girl, should you be hanging out to that guy?
You shouldn't, but many people do. That's the thing. That happens way more often than it should.
I'll take your word for that. Maybe that's why I didn't hang out with a lot of people growing up.
Yeah,
it's cheesy.
Yeah, but women are definitely attracted to value. I think there's some science out there that says women are going to go for the men that bring the most value, the most security to their lives, the best opportunity to reproduce, the best opportunity to progress in status, societal status, all those things.
And this will be a place that I guess I will struggle with. This is because I'm a lefty contrarian. The big thing is that you need to understand what that woman values. If a big dick and cash is what that person values, which is what women, I think, are in a lot of cases trained to value in our culture, then of course that's what she's going to be looking for. Now, I know that wasn't what my wife was looking for, when we got married. She'd been married once. She had, ideas of what she wanted, and it was basically just not her first husband. It was a place she was starting from. So the math on that changes. Yes, women are attracted to value, but you don't necessarily know what value means to somebody else.
Women recoil from neediness.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
We all know those women.
To care.
Yes.
All they want is for you to need them. Please, I want to be your mother. I dated one of those girls, and she about ruined my life. I couldn't do anything. It was an emotional landmine doing anything with that woman. I couldn't say anything, couldn't do anything. I remember this is in college, and we went to see School of Rock back when it was in theaters. And speaking of me being a crier, when the little black girl comes out on the stage and she starts belting out the song and letting you know how awesome she is, getting over her stage fright and everything, I shed a tear. I'm like, oh my God, it's beautiful. She's living up to who she could be. And she walked out of the theater on me, this girl, because I never cried at anything she'd ever done for me. I was never so moved by anything she'd done. It was a stupid movie. And it's
Is that a form of narcissism? I mean,
I think so.
I think so too, because I know girls like that are just like they always go back to, oh, you never say that when I do this, or you never, you know.
And for men out there where this can end up, and I had a long talk with my dad at some point, I ended up break up with that woman because basically she used the fact that, like, if you leave me, I'll kill myself to hold me hostage. And frankly, it worked for a lot longer than it should have. The bottom line is you can't let anybody hold you hostage like that. She's going to kill herself. She's going to kill herself. I'm sorry.
Oh, this next one's good. Physical strength equals overall strength.
I mean, physical strength is good. Everyone should strive to be as physically strong as they are. This is one that I let myself down on a daily basis these days. I'm spending so much time trying to gain stability, like financially, for my family and make the next steps in that regard. I will tell you that you feel better as a man when you're physically strong, and like when you're taking care of yourself, like you never feel as good as you do when you're in shape and hardened, I guess.
So, I mean, unobjectively, it is going to improve your performance in most things that you do, because we now know that if you're physically in shape, then your mental capacity raises with it. I mean, naturally.
Oh, dude, when I was really hitting it, I used to read books on the treadmill and shit.
Yeah, it works. I still fail at this. When I was young, I got in a really good shape, and I mean, not really good shape. I was never very strong, but I could throw a baseball very well. My hand-eye coordination was really good. I was pretty dang athletic. I was fast. Well,
we started this conversation talking about how I was winning track meets, and there was nobody within a county faster than me. So you guys can do the math you want to do. I'm certainly not living up to my end of this right now.
But here's the thing. Even me, I'm probably 175 pounds. I'm 6 foot tall, and I will go a couple of weeks sometimes without doing lifting weights or running or anything. I'll play golf, but I won't, go to the gym and get a good workout in. During those 2 weeks, I recoil for sure. It's a no doubt, because here's how I know. Because the days where I get back at working out, the 2 or 3 times that I do it, the next 2 or 3 days, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like to be powerful. This is what it feels like to operate at, a high
maximum
capacity.
Efficiency.
Yes. So yeah, I'm a believer in this for sure.
But the one thing I will caution anyone on, don't over-index on any one thing. Yes, it's important, but much like we talked about, like, don't push to, like, oh, well, you think you have to be the strongest man in the world for it to be meaningful. No, you have to be the strongest you can be. That's all. That's it.
People treat you how you treat yourself.
Have a spine. Okay. What I will say is, if you don't respect yourself, no one else will respect you, period. I think that is 100% the case.
Well, as a person that told myself a victim story for a while, I know that when I would tell that story to other people, they would corroborate that message, and it made me worse. So I'm not sure that, and maybe that's out of ignorance, but maybe that's not always true. I think that, I don't know. I think that people treat other people in a way that is conducive to their own perspective.
Well, if you can see, he does kind of go on to, like, explain certain things. There are certain things in which no one is going to take me seriously on. I spent a lot of time with personal fitness and know a lot about it, know a lot about diet and exercise. Despite how much time I've spent studying that, no one is going to listen to me talk about diet and exercise just because of the way I'm going to look. Like, it's period. So, like, I know that if you can get one over on someone and it's super easy to do because they just don't stand up for themselves, people will take advantage of that. Maybe not everybody, but enough on average that it's going to become a thing. So like you have to stand up for yourself. I guess it's more a matter of if you don't stand up for yourself, you certainly can't expect anyone else to. Like people might, but you can be certain that if you don't, there's nobody that has to.
Fix the light bulb. Let me go ahead and read the anecdotes as well. And take out the trash and unclog the toilet and replace your air filters. If little things around the house need to be done, do them. That's your job. Nobody's going to do it for you. Take ownership of your surroundings. That's what a man does. Yes, not only is it good for the family and your general surroundings, but it's also good for yourself too, because it's that line of the first thing that you should do in the morning is make your bed, because you've already accomplished something. It gets your brain chemistry going correctly, all that stuff. But it also, if you go to work, go out and, have to come back home, you don't want to come back home to a mess. Coming back home to a clean place is so much more satisfying than coming home to a wreck, one where, the fire detector battery's out and it's beeping all the time. It's so much better to come home to a nice, clean, that same lesson that Jordan Peterson has about, get your house in order.
Having nice things makes us all feel better. And if you don't take care of those nice things, and while I will actually take this one step further than they're doing, this guy is talking about this in a very physical way. I will actually say this is like, you need to be radically communicative with the people in your life, because if you let little things, say if it's a light bulb or say it's a fight that you had with your wife that you didn't address why it happened, those little things can become very, very big things down the road. Like sure, it starts as a light bulb, and the next, you stop visiting a room in your house just because I don't want to deal with the problems that are in that room. I don't want to go to the basement because if I go down there, I got to deal with the drip, and then the drip's going to. In your relationships, if you don't deal with like the little hiccups, eventually it's like 6 months down the road, and I didn't realize you felt this way, and like we're talking about getting a divorce because we didn't address this one little thing, and then another little thing piled on top of it. And things that are very small things that really shouldn't affect anything can become a matter of, well, I just don't feel like I know you anymore. You don't take care of any of this stuff. Well, take care of things and they won't build up. And knowing is always better than not knowing.
Everything is earned. You're owed nothing, and the world will treat you as such. Yeah. I mean,
okay, so I don't like the way he worded this, and this is strictly from a language perspective. Everything is earned. Okay, well, the world isn't fair, so that's bullshit. I guess to say everything is earned, like all the negative stuff that happens in your life would be earned too. Only the good things in your life are the things that you want. You have to earn them. I would say let's make a better way of putting it. Because lots of shit that's negative will probably happen to you in life that you have no reason for it to happen whatsoever. Just somebody else screwed something up. But nothing good generally is going to happen to you.
I think this is one of those that it's a good way to think. Another good lens to have, I think, is what this is. Self-respect is supreme.
It's just kind of doubling back on the same thing you said earlier. It's kind of like a repeat.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a repeat here.
Don't respect yourself. No one else will.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I believe there's people out there that look down upon themselves very, very, very much, but yet they bring this massive value to the world. Like, let's take one of these guys that committed suicide. That's a famous person. Lincoln Park guy, Chester.
If you think that was suicide.
Oh, man. I didn't know we were going there.
Oh, we don't have to go there. We'll talk about that in another episode, but
I don't know the story, I guess. What about, Robin Williams. So can you respect yourself and commit suicide?
Well, and this is my point. I think that like, if you don't have self-respect, that's a danger you run. Like, doesn't matter how good, how much value you bring to the rest of the world. If you're not living and being in such a way that you can learn to love and appreciate yourself, that is how it ends. You end up killing yourself. You know, the idea behind this, like, if you can't be good enough for you, doesn't matter how good enough you are for everybody else.
Maybe I just don't have a good image of self-respect in my mind. Let's go to this anecdote though. Discipline, integrity, work ethic, your values, they're all made possible through self-respect. So I'm guessing, I believe what he's saying is if you have discipline, if you have integrity, if you have work ethic, it's because you have self-respect. I guess. Is it because you want to have a good character? Is that why? I don't know.
I read it a little different. Everyone has their values and like what they think a good person is. And if you're not living up to your values and what you believe a good person is, and the thing of this is like some people's values can get out of whack where like what they think a good person is isn't even possible. Like they can never live up to what they believe a good person is. That's like the whole Lewy body dementia that Robin Williams had. Like his reality, he was never capable of seeing reality because his body couldn't interpret the world around him properly. And so, you know, the idea is when you have your values, if you feel yourself failing at living up to your values, your house of cards ready to crumble.
Yeah, I get it. You learned me something today, Nicky. Dadgum. Heck yeah. All right. Be kind to all.
Be kind to all is a weird one for me. I think that it's better to approach people with kindness in life. But if someone has established that they're not a positive actor, I don't feel like you have any obligation to be good to them regardless. I think if you're capable of being good to people that are terrible and it doesn't reflect that they take advantage of you as a person, then by all means, sure. Like there's some value in like, I was nice to you and you were a total piece of shit. And if I'm asking for this thing now, you owe me. But by and large, if someone's going to take advantage of you being kind and them being a piece of shit, you have no obligation to continue being kind to them in my world. I think that's setting yourself up for, you know, being able to be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
But as a general rule, though, it is probably better to be kind to people until they establish that you shouldn't be.
Yeah. So default setting is kindness with other settings available.
Yeah, I like that.
Regret will kill you.
I make it a point not to have regrets in life.
Yeah, I was gonna say I regret a lot of things for sure, but it's just not something that I entertain in my consciousness.
Well, the bottom line is you can't do anything about it. So, you know, learn from it, move on. That's all you can do.
I say that I try not to entertain it in my consciousness.
I'm actually really, really good at this one.
It's like, God dang, I should have done that, but you just throw it out the window and just keep driving 70 down the road. Well,
I guess this will be one of my qualities as a human being. That I don't know how I got wired this way. I really don't think about it. Like that happened. Cool. Let's move on to the next challenge. I don't care. My wife, on the other hand, hates because she's done at all that. She will overanalyze every problem over and over again until the next problem is there, and she's still analyzing the last problem.
Man, the more important piece to this number 17 life lesson is actually the bottom anecdote. And remember, no one thinks about you more than you think about yourself. Oh, absolutely. I think we're all, or me, I'm definitely guilty of, man, does he think I, suck at math because I couldn't do that multiplication problem off the top of my head right away? Or, what I mean? The truth is nobody was paying attention. Yeah, nobody cares. Turns out nobody cares. There's actually a joke I tell, and it's like, if you don't know, there's only 4 people on planet Earth that can dance. Michael Jackson was one of them. And you're never going to meet the other 3. So it doesn't matter how you dance. Just go out and do it because it's fun. Yeah, I like that. I like that. And also, one of the other anecdotes is instead see it as data. So instead of seeing regret as like some sort of life event, see it as data to learn from.
Well, and that's like I said, I'm very good at that. Like it happened. These are the reasons it happened. Probably don't do those again. The next challenge.
Oh gosh, practice seasons of asceticism. Is that how you say that? Asceticism?
That's how it's written there. It's actually asceticism, but whatever.
I don't even know what that word means.
Like, have you ever read Siddhartha by Herman Hesse? The idea is like if you practice going without stuff, there's some value in understanding, what it means to have nothing, I guess.
Yeah. So in all the religious cultures, they have a time of fasting and stuff. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I think that's important because it reminds you of, how not lucky you are to have the things that you have, but it makes you value them more for sure.
Well, what it would actually, in a lot of cultures, the way they look at it is it shows you how unimportant those things are. You don't value them more. It teaches you how to put the appropriate amount of value on them. It's like, whether or not I have these things, I'm still here as a person. I still have my life. I still have my health, my family, my friends, whatever it is, that you don't put undue value on things that really are just superfluous to what you really need to live life.
I find value there.
I spent a lot of time in Buddhism, so that's kind of like how they use asceticism in their religious practices.
Find a fraternity.
Absolutely. Find people that make you better. Community is super important. We are social animals, and whether or not you think you need it, you will long to have people around that understand you and are there to take care of you when you need taken care of. It doesn't matter how badass of a dude you are. There's going to come a time when you're going to need somebody, and maybe it's that time 10 dudes with axe handles show up at your house, and you're going to wish you had somebody else to watch your back. Yeah, like there's nothing where having people that have your back is a bad thing. Once again, like the Michael Jordan thing, find those people that help you sharpen that sword.
I think I fall prey to sometimes finding a set of people that I spend time with. In this case, he's talking about men, but in general, for some reason, I will pick out things that I don't like or bad habits that people have, and I will use that as a reason not to spend time with them. And for the most part, it's true. Like I have good decision making on that, but sometimes I've noticed, man, I didn't hang out with him more often because he did this, but in all reality, that was something very small, and I should have disregarded it.
Well, and it's all about your own personal values, as all things are. Like, if you value success and money and being around the people that are going to help you chase that in life is one thing. If you value kindness above all else, I mean, there's a different kind of person you're going to seek out and want to be around to embody that more in your life.
Number 20, last but not least. Oh, go ahead.
It's one of the things with self-help in general is that the real truth of self-help is that you need to dig down deep and understand who you are as a person, for good or bad. You need to really take stock of like what your personal values are, because all self-help is living within the values that you believe are important, finding a way to make that happen.
Agree. It's supposed to be hard.
I don't know if it's whether or not it's supposed to be hard, but it probably will be. Like the top of it is like looking at like where I was mentally at the play in the world at that point. And like I thought the answer for me was, hey, do these things. I think these are the most important things for you to do, Irma.
Number 1, pay your rent. Being homeless sucks. You need a sanctuary in the world. Number 2, keep everyone fed. You won't live long without food or water, so always handle this 1 second. Number 3, family comes first, always. This is about the people who invest the most in us. Always favor the people with stock in the game. Number 4, A big family is superior to a big friend circle. Friends are nice, but family is better. Find ways to get people to invest in you, invest in others as well. Number 5, get rid of fake people immediately. Fake means unreliable, and unreliable things add to the chaos. Don't be afraid to realize you made a poor investment and cut your losses. Number 6, surround yourself with people who make you better. We only have so many days in our lives. Why waste any time on people who aren't pushing us to be better than we were yesterday? There we go. Number 7, only we are responsible for our wealth. What we have is a product of what we have worked for, even when it's not. Even if we can shift blame, it only serves to disempower us. Number 8, wealth is measured in days. How many days you can go without needing to work for food, a house, or love. That's how wealthy you are in each of those. Not bad. Number 9, the best way to help yourself is to help others. The best way to things out of others is to help them get things for themselves. It's never bad to be the person who makes others' lives better.
Which is be the guy.
Be the guy. You do say that. You still say that.
Be the guy.
Be the guy. Number 10, I'll sleep when I'm dead. This is my dad's. Our time is short and tomorrow is not guaranteed. Live this life fully at all times and carry no regrets. Besides that last one, sleep when you're dead, I think 7 or 8 hours is necessary to perform at a high level. Besides the practical,
I think 5 hours has always been like my optimum. If I get over 8 hours, over 5 hours, I start to get wonky too. But a year ago, that's kind of where my head was at as far as I think the lessons are, and I think he covered a lot of them in there. Obviously, I'm me and I like the way I say things better. So,
all right, Nicky, man, I can't believe we didn't get the our guest.
Hey, there's always another day. I have no issues setting something else up with him. It's kind of, look, it's where dad's life happens. And at the end of the day, making sure we provide for the kids is what we do. So the job calls.
Heck yeah. Well, Nicky, I appreciate you coming on with me and going through that thread. I think it was valuable.
It was fun. I don't get to be on the show much. I get to watch you talk to other people. So it's always nice when we get to have an actual conversation between the two of us.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.